This is the Bambu Labs A1 Mini, which retails for $299. And when it came out, I said that this was the best entry-level 3D printer, hands down. And ever since making that video, I've used this thing continuously, and it has worked flawlessly. The only real negative with this printer is its build volume. I don't really know if negative is the correct way to say that. I guess limitation. For some people, the build volume of 180 by 180 by 180 is more than enough. For others, it's not. Well, if you decided to hold off on purchasing the A1 Mini due to its build volume, good news, the A1 is now here. It's Bambu Labs' newest printer, and it has the build volume found on their other printers at 256 by 256 by 256. The A1 retails for $399 and is a full Cartesian style printer form factor. We're all pretty familiar with the Cartesian style printers. For a while there, every manufacturer under the sun was making some sort of Ender 3 clone, but this is not one of them. Although it may look similar to what we've seen from a lot of other manufacturers over the years, the quality of prints and the ease of use from the A1 far exceeds what those older printers were able to offer. Now, if you're familiar with what the A1 Mini had to offer, the A1 is pretty much the same. There's not really any big difference between the A1 Mini and the A1 other than, the build volume. The A1 comes with all the creature comforts we have come to expect from Bambu Labs printers. The automatic bed leveling, the automatic Z offset, active flow compensation, vibration, resonance, and nozzle pressure calibrations for every print. Meaning that when you start a print on the A1, or really any of Bambu Labs printers, you can feel confident that it's actually going to finish and you're not going to have any issues. The A1 also shares the quick swap nozzle introduced with the A1 Mini, and it can reach a temperature of 300 C. The hot end that ships with the A1 is all metal, and it has a stainless steel nozzle at 0.4 millimeters. The build sheet is a textured PEI spring steel bed sheet. It's magnetically bound to the table. It has a nice little locating feature on the back here, so you can make sure it's always in the correct position, and it works really well. The bed itself can get up to 100 degrees C and has good uniform heating. And just like the A1 Mini, although the A1 is a bed slinger, it can reach a pretty impressive print speed, producing a Benchy in around 14 minutes using the Speed Benchy rules right out of the box. Now, keep in mind, there's a Speed Benchy preloaded on this thing, and if you run it, it's going to take like 19 minutes to finish, considering heating up the printer and then all of the calibration sequencing that needs to be done. But 19 minutes for a Benchy right out of the box with great quality is nothing to scoff at. The A1 is also available as a combo, as you see it here, which basically means they add the AMS Lite. The price jumps up to $559, but that unlocks multicolor printing and automatic filament swap over, which means that, say I'm printing something in this gray here, this is gray PLA, I'm running a big print, it runs out of gray mid-print. As long as I have another gray PLA in the AMS, it'll automatically switch over to that material and finish the print without any interaction from me at all. It'll just do it. And it's probably my favorite AMS feature on all of the Bambu Lab printers. Now, one thing that does differ from the A1 Mini is that there is some minor assembly that needs to be done with this printer, whereas the AMS Mini, or the A1 Mini, just kind of comes out of the box and is ready to go. With this printer, it ships in two pieces. The gantry is not attached, and it's really quite simple. I could attach a few bolts and this thing's ready to go. I did it with one hand because I was kind of trying to film the whole process to see how easy it was, and it's really easy. And this is what I think kind of really sets Bambu Labs apart from other manufacturers, is that they make the assembly and the setup easier than you could ever imagine. The instruction manuals are great. They're very well written. They have lots of pictures. The printer is like everything you need to attach, like where the bolts go, there's color-coded circles, red circles where bolts need to come out, green circles where bolts need to go in. And then once everything's assembled, the touchscreen just walks you through the whole setup process. You plug it in, it asks you what language you want, and boom, you're off to going, setting it up, running all the calibration sequences, and before you know it, you're printing. I mean, they even go as far as putting stickers on the box that it ships in, showing where to remove plastic so that it can come out of the box easier. It's just good. Not to mention the packaging that the printer ships in is exceptional. I don't see any way that this thing could possibly get damaged in shipping. I mean, at this point, I almost sound like a broken record when talking about Bambu Labs printers. They're just good. And I mean, I work at like an engineering firm, and I have people that work with me that know that I'm really into 3D printing. I'm kind of the 3D printing guy. And other people come up to my desk all the time asking me, hey, I'm thinking about getting into 3D printing. What printer should I buy? And without question, I always say, buy a Bambu Labs printer. It doesn't even matter what your budget is. I'm like, what's your budget? Even if they say their budget is like 150 bucks, I'm like, it's worth just waiting, saving up some money to get a Bambu Labs printer. You're just gonna have a much better experience. It doesn't matter if it's your first 3D printer or your 50th. If you buy a Bambu Labs printer, you're gonna have a good time. I currently, right now, have the AMS Mini, the X1C, the P1S, and now the A1, and all of them work flawlessly. It used to be, before I had any Bambu Labs printers, I had a main printer, which was a Prusa Mark III's, and that was the printer that I used for all of my prints because it was the best one I had. If that printer was busy, then I would run it on like my FL Sun V400 or some other secondary printer that worked good, but maybe not as good as the Prusa. But now that I have a Bambu Lab printer, well, the Prusa's sitting over there unplugged. I don't really use anything else. I don't have a specific primary printer. As long as it's a Bambu Labs printer, it's one that I can use. If I took this A1, the A1 Mini, the X1C, and the P1S, and put PLA, just a standard PLA in it, the same color, and ran the same model off of every printer, and threw all those models in a bag and pulled them out, you could not tell which one came off which printer, which is pretty impressive and something that I really like about the Bambu Labs printers. And now with the release of the A1 Mini and the A1, there's pretty much a printer for everybody's budget or needs. If you're gonna be printing mostly PLA and you're doing small stuff and you don't wanna spend a lot of money, the A1 Mini is where it's at. If you need a little bit of larger build volume, the A1. If you wanna do like, I don't know, ABS or ASA, the P1S or a P1P enclosed is a really good choice. And if you really wanna use like higher end materials like carbon fiber nylon, the X1C has kind of got you covered. Now that's not to say you can't print ASA or ABS on like an A1. It's not recommended by Bambu Labs, but I've printed ASA on my X1 or my A1 Mini without issues. I normally just print those in my enclosed printers because they like to warp if it gets a little chilly. Now the material Bambu Labs recommends for the A1 and like the A1 Mini is PLA, PETG, TPU, and PVA. Now, if I had to complain about something on the A1, it would be pretty much the same complaint I had on the A1 Mini. It's the touchscreen. Although it's good, it gives you everything you need, it's a bit sluggish, especially for 2023 going on 2024. It could be a little bit better. Also, the AMS settings, like when you go into the edit tab for the materials loaded on it, the color choices and stuff are pretty limited. And the camera, so this has a 1080p camera, just kind of like the A1 Mini. The frame rate is garbage. But that being said, I'm almost never use the touchscreen on any of the Bambu Labs printers, even like my X1C. I always use the app. The app's really good for the printers, or I just run them from my computer. And for the camera, I mean, I have run time lapses on the X1C, but I don't really do that too often. I normally just use the camera to pop in to see if the build plate is empty. Did I forget I printed something in the past? And I'll check to see if it's empty and then send a print, or maybe I'll pop in to see if everything's going good. But most of the time you don't even need to do that, because if there's an error, for the most part, the printer will alert you. Now, this doesn't have spaghettification alerts like the X1C does, so that's kind of where I pop in and just make sure everything's looking good. Now, speaking of sending prints, the A1 Mini, pretty much all Bambu Labs printers use the Bambu Studio software, which is their slicer. It's basically where you slice your models and send them to your printers via Wi-Fi. It's very similar to like Prusa Slicer, and all the profiles that Bambu Labs has put on their Bambu Studios for like the A1, the A1 Mini, X1C, P1S, P1P, they all work great. I hadn't had to tune any printers at all, which is something I really hate. And I know a lot of people really hate that Bambu Labs has kind of like somewhat locked out a lot of their stuff. They don't say it's open source, but for me, I would much rather have something that just worked out of the box, that I didn't have to worry about. When I sent something to it, I knew it was gonna work. I didn't have to mess with profiles. I selected the printer I have, the layer height I wanted, the quality I needed, and just that was it. And I think a lot of people would much rather have that experience. This is more of an appliance for most people than it is something to tinker with. And that also improves the user experience. So somebody getting into 3D printing, like I said a million times, I used to have the TiVo Tarantula Pro. It came as a box of parts. I had to put it together, and the experience using it was crap. I mean, the prints came off it horrible. I had no idea why they were coming off horrible. I was trying to use Cura, and it had a million settings, and I didn't know what any of them did. If I would have got something like this or the Mini or any of the Bambu stuff, it would have been much better. I would have had a much better experience printing things on these printers. Also in Bambu Studios, on like the homepage, you'll see a lot of prints available online, and if you click onto them, it'll take you to Maker World, which in and of itself isn't that revolutionary. It's much the same as like Thingiverse, where there's models you can download and print. What makes it better is if you have a Bambu Labs printer, there's an option where you can click Open in Bambu Labs, and when you like a print, you click Open in Bambu Labs, it automatically opens it in your slicer. All the presets are set, and you just hit print, and you're off and going. I mean, I recently found this model. This is just an excavator, but it kind of blew my mind. Now, I was just browsing through Bambu Studios looking for something to print for this video, and then this thing showed up, and I was like, that looks pretty darn cool. And I exported it or opened it in Studio, and it had a bunch of pieces, and I was like, oh man, that's a lot of, looks like a lot of gluing and assembly. But the way that this is put together is phenomenal. Everything is print in place, no supports needed, and it all just snaps together. Even the tracks here, they print as one flat piece. You pull them off the build plate, you bend them a little bit, and you snap them together, and they are actual functioning rolling tracks. And it blew my mind. This thing probably blew my mind way more than it should. But stuff like this is all over Bambu Studios or Maker Worlds, and it's just something that, like, if I try to print this on my TiVo Transfer Pro way back when, I would have to figure out which profile I needed to use. I don't even know if that thing could do print and play stuff. I mean, it was not tuned at all. And many people say if you would have spent the time tuning it, it could have done it. And that's probably true. Well, it's more than likely true. But that's something I don't want to do. I want something that works. And this thing, it just works. I just really like it. Look at this cool thing. Bambu Labs, love them or hate them, has really changed the game in 3D printings. Even if you don't like Bambu Labs or their printers, you have to admit that when they came to market with the X1, it really pushed other manufacturers to really step up the game and start producing better printers. And I still maintain if you're looking for a great entry-level 3D printer, you're looking for something to just start out with, you don't want to spend a lot of money, the A1 Mini is easily the best printer to get. It's the best choice. Now, if that build volume isn't enough for you, the extra $100 for the A1 without the MS is where you need to be, at least right now. So I'll leave links to all these printers in the description below. I use them daily. I like the Bambu Labs printers a lot. They're pretty much the only printers I use. I use them here. I use them at work. Everybody that asks me what printer to get, I'm just like, just go look at Bambu Labs printers. Pick any of them. They all print good. Just choose how much money you want to spend and what features you need. They have something for you. And that's it. Right now, Bambu Labs, they're the best. Love it or hate it. Till next time.